Welcome to the American Center. My name is Rachel Sundin and I'm the Deputy Director of the American Center. We're so happy to have you all here today. I see a lot of familiar faces, so welcome, and to everybody who's here for the first time, welcome as well. Today is one of our flagship programs. It's the 4th edition of Our Voice, Our Journey, which we run in partnership with Ananta Aspen Institute. And this is a really amazing program. It's one of our favorite. It's fun, it's interesting, and it's really informative. In this program, you'll meet today four women, plus our moderator, the Consul General Helen Lefebvre, and they're going to talk about their work, their journeys, their lives, and how they got to where they are, the good, the bad, the fun, the ugly, everything. So it's a real honor to have everyone here today. Our panelists today, each year we have a theme around what we do. This year we've brought down 4 people from the Northeast. And I think I'm the luckiest person in Kolkata because I get to, throughout my job, travel all over this region, all of Eastern India. And I've been so lucky to meet almost all of them in their home states, where they work. They've shared with me so much information that I could never garner from just reading a book. They've taught me about where they live. They've taught me the issues. They've also taught me about the food. They've taught me about their clothes and their beautiful things that are made in their state. And they're just great friends of the American Center and the American Consulate. So we're going to start our program today with a video. And the video is actually about one other person that we wanted to come, but she's in the US. So we're going to start with a video of another friend of ours. Her name is Beena Lakshmi Napran. She's from the state of Manipur. And she's a founder of an organization called the Women's Gun Survivor Network. So we're going to start with a video to get... No, we're all set. So we're going to start with the video of her and her work, and then we'll move into our program. So thank you so much for joining us today.
More than 20,000 people have lost their lives in the killing fields of Manipur in the last 5 decades.
Every day 3 to 4 Manipuris are shot dead, and most of them are young men between the age group of 19 to 40, living behind young mothers, young women, and their small children.
Beena Lakshmi's group, the Manipur Women Gun Survivors Network, helps these women cope with their grief.
When I started meeting women and listened to their testimonies and their stories when they lost 2 sons in one day, I knew that this is not fair to them. Forget about compensation. Nobody even bothered how they get on with their lives.
So Beena chalked out a strategy. She went village to village, opened bank accounts, and gave these women interest-free loans and financial aid up to 9,000 rupees. Today they earn a living by making incense sticks, weaving, or rearing fish. Each one of them is self-sufficient. Working with 80 women in 4 districts of Manipur, Beena gets most of her funding from donations and her research work with the Controlled Arms Foundation of India. The guns haven't stopped in Manipur. Beena knows there are many more women who need her help across the state.
What would you like to tell the country which sometimes forgets that there is a state called Manipur that exists?
Thank you. We have no words for calling us this evening. Several years back, my father brought me to Delhi for my higher studies. Because education system in Manipur is quite bad because of the conflict. 3 years of graduation will make it 5 years. When I first came here, people looked at me and called me Chinky. Many years even, they still call me, Beena, which country are you from? आप Thai हो? आप Philippines से हो? आप Nepali हो? To be called here for the Indian of the Year special achievement is a testimony that can be Indians who look different from the ones in Delhi, in Mumbai, or in the rest. This is not just an award, but to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, who are the pillars of this country. I know people who are filling up this room can transform the face of India. We want to be in that idea of India, an idea of India where you do not rule us at the barrel of your gun. We do not want the armed forces coming to our homes, coming to our rice fields, picking up our men, women and children. At this stage in Manipur, we set up this network. I had dreams of being a physicist. I never thought I will be nominated along with Anna Hazare in the public service category in my life. But the fact of what is happening in Manipur, where more than 20,000 people have lost their lives, where we do not have the bodies of our people to even bury or burn them, is Manipur. Please do not forget the northeast of India. There are people with brains, with talent, and a love for this country as great as yours. Most importantly, I would like to remind that women are always told your place is in the kitchen. Politics is not for women. But in Manipur, we are working very hard in spite of all the guns. By both state and non-state actors, we have more than 60 battalions of the Indian Army. We have more than 32 insurgent groups. Guns are pointed at us every day of our lives. But we will continue to show them that our dream for peace is greater than their thirst for bloodshed. If you think you can control our lives with gunpower, money power and corruption, we will dare to disprove that this is strong. This award I dedicate to more than 15,000 women of Manipur as well as women of Northeast who have shown India that we the women, if we come together, we can resist violence, corruption, as well as any kind of fear that is a part of our lives. Thank you.
Okay, so that was just one of our first pieces to get you ready to hear some amazing stories. I would now like to invite our moderator, the Consul General Helen Lefebvre, up to start the program. Thank you.
Namaskar. Welcome. Very glad to be here today. As Rachel said, it is our flagship program. I'm going to start by doing some, what we like to term as housekeeping things. I want to tell you, put your phone on silent. You don't want to miss a word. And you don't want your neighbors to miss anything because your phone is going off. If your phone does go off in the middle of this, we promise you will be embarrassed. So please turn it off. Mine is off. Let's make sure. Yes, it's got the Z's. So thank you. I also want to tell you what we're going to do now. I have a few minutes to speak, which I will. But before I really speak, I will tell you that I'm going to speak briefly. I'm going to then have a video, very brief introduction of our first speaker. She's going to have a video and then speak briefly. Then the rest of us are going to go on stage and we'll proceed through with the other speakers who will each have a few minutes to speak. After they've had a chance to speak and tell a little bit of their stories, a sliver of their stories, we will then have a chance for questions. And I personally want to have as much time for questions as possible because I think that will be fascinating. I believe you all have a paper with their bios. I'm not going to repeat their bios, so just want to forewarn you of that. And after we have a chance to have questions and answers, I'm hoping it'll be a lively discussion. I'm also hoping when we do that people will stand up, identify themselves, ask their question, refrain from long commentary, because I think you will find, as I found when I had lunch with these ladies today, they really want to hear them talk rather than anything else, because it is fascinating. And at the end of our program, we'll of course thank everybody, and we will have tea, because we are in tea, so of course we will have tea. So that's the housekeeping is done. I believe I've hit the housekeeping parts. What I wanted to now go into my I hope will be very brief statement. I want to tell you that I have to disagree with something that Rachel said to you a few minutes ago. She said that she feels like, I believe, and I'll paraphrase her, she has the best job in Kolkata. She's wrong. I do. I will fight her out for that title. I'm glad to hear that she believes that. I think we should all believe that we have the best job. I feel very honored to be here in Kolkata, to be in the northeast of India. I should tell you that I am from the northeast of the United States, so I like to think there's some wonderful bond between why I'm in northeast India, being from the northeast. But I also have to tell you, I was thinking earlier today about geography, the fact that I'm from the northeast and I'm in the northeast of India, Northeast America, Northeast India. But I also started thinking about how I have heard people here in India, in Calcutta, and in the newspapers refer to the northeastern states. This whole concept of mainland India and the Northeast being somehow very different, very exotic. And it strikes me when I hear it, because as an American, it had to be explained to me why that is. I think I have an understanding, but I'm always willing to learn more. But I was also intrigued because I started thinking about how little I knew about the Northeast India. And I took my mind back to when I was in university, which was pre-internet, which is important to this because you're going to say, well, why don't you just look it up on the internet? But I remember doing some research once about World War I in Europe. And there was a reference in the research that I was looking at to the Assamese troops in France. I had never seen the word Assamese. I had no idea what it was. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find anything. It's again before internet, so it wasn't like I could just put the words in. I had never heard of Assam. And thinking of that, I eventually did hear of Assam, but Mizoram, Nagaland? Oh, please, I had never heard of these places. Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, never heard of them. And so it took many years, and I started thinking about, I'd like to think of myself as a curious, educated person, but it took me an awful long time and really trying to have familiarity, or at least awareness that these places exist. I started thinking about all the people who, quite frankly, probably just aren't interested, and it's to their loss, because these really are fascinating places. I have now had the privilege of traveling. I've been in Kolkata 6 months, and I've actually been to the Northeast 3 times. That's the good news, or the okay news. I should go more. The not so good news is all 3 times I've been to Assam. I need to get myself out to the other places, which I plan to do. I especially plan to do it because I had the privilege today to have lunch with these ladies. And I tell you, you're in for a treat. It was really interesting. They're a reminder to us, to me, that women matter, the amazing things they do in their communities, the way their communities and the work they do transcend their daily lives, their issues are transcendental. We just saw that with our friend talking about gun violence. I was struck about that as an Indian story. I was also struck about it as an American story, because we certainly have gun violence issues in the United States. And it's frequently that people can, sit and blame each other and say, this is your problem, this is your problem. And that is a way of talking about pretty much any issue. But isn't it a better way to talk about an issue and say, okay, this is a problem, how are we going to deal with it? This is something that we've dealt in this community, how can this be helpful for your community? And how to move past a blame game into a concept of, there's a problem in my community, what am I doing about it? And this is what I'm struck with these women. They see something and they sit there and say, what am I going to do about it? And what can I do about it? I thought of some of the words I wanted to say to you about them. I think you'll agree at the end of the program, they're inspiring, they're fabulous, they're interesting. I could go on with superlatives. I've decided not to go on with superlatives. I will let them go on. But I really feel like we're in for a treat this afternoon, and I feel very fortunate to be here, and I'm very happy to have all of you here. I think now I want to turn to the first presenter, and we're going to start with her video. And this is Zarita. I'm going to avoid saying the parts of the names that I can't pronounce properly, because I think it's in everybody's interest not to embarrass me, or me to embarrass myself. But I want to tell you, you can see from your bio that she is from Meghalaya, and she is involved in the government, and she has her hand in all kinds of economic issues and health issues, and any number of issues. But I'm going to stop talking and let Sarita speak for herself. Thank you.
Sarita Lighthouse, a loyal daughter, a loving wife, a doting mother. She believes in the inevitability of change and the truth of every individual's role as a vessel of transformation. She nurtures ambitious ideas for the development of the economically challenged and society at large. She is fueled by the passion to give these ideas tangible and sustainable form for a better tomorrow. Sarita comes from the verdant Khasi hills of Meghalaya, a land of diversity, where women stand tall as the carriers of the family name and fortune. This didn't mean her entry into the world of politics was a cakewalk. Though matrilineal, growth of women in the political arena in the Khasi community is often met with many hurdles. In a world ruled by men, her rise to the top was fraught with inter-party conflict within her own state. Her political journey from state to center was just as hard if not more. She found herself tagged as a Northeasterner and sent back to work in the Northeast region, limiting her experience. As national coordinator, where she monitored fund flow from center to state, she oftentimes found herself having to go head-to-head against her own leaders. Her tenacity in the field kept her unmoved when, as election coordinator in Bengal, she faced the then ruling party. Despite their threats of rape, acid attacks, and abduction, she stood her ground during the election membership drive. Secretary and spokesperson of Meghalaya State Congress and Vice Chairperson, Meghalaya State Development Reforms Commission, Sarita is now widely experienced and comfortably home in the political field. Despite being a hands-on mother to her son, she has been able to effectively contribute to the Indian Youth Congress as the national coordinator. Her experience placed her in charge of the Northeastern region, where she undertook election campaigns for congressional candidates in the states of Meghalaya, Mizoram, Assam, Manipur, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, and the states of Maharashtra and Rajasthan. It put her in the fore of a Padyatra, where she led 1,500 men in Gujarat for the Youth Congress cause. Sarita's work with grassroots level party personnel in various parts of India has given her a deeper understanding of what is required of her as a leader and a spokesperson. She has served as the Vice President of Meghalaya Pradesh Youth Congress in charge Ribhoi District, National Coordinator for the Aam Aadmi Ka Sipahi, Program in charge for the Northeastern States, and Secretary in charge Communications and Media, Meghalaya Pradesh Congress Committee. For her exceptional hard work, Sarita has featured in many magazine articles and also found a prominent place in the biography of Rahul Gandhi, authored by Jatin Gandhi. Of her many undertakings, her role as the chairperson of Ananta, a social initiative for the general upliftment of the society, working for women empowerment and environmental issues, she admits is deeply rewarding. Her dream project, however, is to start an enterprise for herself which would only employ women, and the significant proceeds would be used for the upliftment of women. Another of her novel undertakings is the gathering of funds for the adoption of a leper's village for their rehabilitation and the creation of employment opportunities for them so as to enable them to support and sustain themselves. These are just a few of her numerous contributions to her beloved country. Sarita credits her success to her exceptionally supportive family who stood behind her when she wished to transition from a career as a teacher to that of a politician. She is thankful that her husband, who she married at the tender age of 16, had the foresight to ensure that she completed her education and shared the same views as her towards the empowerment of women. To quote the great father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, strength does not come from physical capacity, it comes from an indomitable will. This is the same will that drives Sarita to achieve her dream of a better tomorrow.
Thank you, Janvi, for the glasses. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be invited and considered as one of the voices of the Northeast, to be able to take you with me through my journey thus far and to be with such extraordinary women who have excelled in their fields. Well, such functions such as these really do well for the morale, and the real reward for me is when I see my efforts come to mean something, when I see a tribe prosper and know that I played a minuscule part in improving their lives. There are a few principles that steer me and have been instrumental in shaping the type of person that I am today. I'm sure these are the same for the others like me. They are, number one, I think commitment. We should be able to develop positive differences in the lives of the people and harness their talents at every strata of the society. Quality. We should be able to provide outstanding policies. Integrity. We should be able to uphold the standards of integrity in all our actions and deeds. Teamwork. We should work together across boundaries for a unified cause. Respect for people. We should value our fellow beings, encourage their development, and reward their performances without prejudices. A will to win. We should be able to exhibit a strong will to win in every aspect. And lastly, personal accountability. We should be personally accountable for delivering on the commitments we make for the people. As a school teacher, I always yearned to become a politician, but deep inside I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and to become a part and make an impact on my community and my country. There is still so much left to be done, and I feel one lifetime is just not enough. I yearn to be reborn again and just to finish what I started. Jai.
We have 3 more to go.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Why can't you hear me? Okay, can you hear me now? What am I doing wrong? Can you hear me now? Thank you. We've had 2 inspiring stories from Mizoram and Meghalaya. We're now going into, no, we've heard from Manipur. We're now going to Mizoram. See, I told you I'm ignorant. We're going to have Mazami speak about her experiences. She is, among other things, a professor, but she is also a cancer survivor and has taken a leadership and some very interesting public health initiatives. And I will leave her to talk to you about her work.
Thank you. Well, I think I have to use that to say. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I feel privileged and honored to be here, but at the same time humbled. But I'm going to cut it short and say thank you. And the first thing I want to tell you all about me is that I have a very, very beautiful breast. Yes, I do have a beautiful breast. Because this one, does not cause me my hair or endless days of nausea and vomiting till I have none left to throw up, or fatigue, or headache, or I'm sure some of you will understand this very well. All the symptoms that goes with induced menopause every month for the last 4.5 years. I'm a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer of the most aggressive type. And my journey to being here, the reason I talk to you today starts with the breast on that fateful day in February 2009. During the challenging times that followed my diagnosis, the surgery, the chemotherapy, and the hormonal treatment that still goes on today, I have been blessed with an incredible extended network of family, friends, doctors, nurses, survivors, who gave me hope and strength through their love, support, and prayer. And many of these important people connected with my journey gave me a greater purpose beyond myself to share my story and help spread awareness and make a difference in the lives of others. So this my ordeal has introduced me to working with individuals, survivors and their families, who also want to defeat cancer. So just a few handful of us started the Mizoram Cancer Care Foundation on the 10th of March 2011. In fact, today is our rising day and it is being observed in my state. This foundation provided me with a part to connect with others, like to spread awareness through sharing my stories and also help me heal emotionally. And when we started the foundation, we have 4 basic aims in mind: to serve cancer patients physically and spiritually, to assist and strengthen the government in their endeavor to combat the disease, to spread awareness, and to work with like-minded organizations. Now, when we are first diagnosed with cancer, we not only have to deal with the physical nature of the disease, we have to be mentally prepared for the challenging times ahead. We have the dilemma of confronting the financial problems that goes with the treatment of cancer. Cancer is quite an expensive disease, let me tell you. We have addressed these issues. I and my colleagues and my friends have worked on this for the last 3 years. We cannot do as much as we want to because most of the members in my foundations, we are cancer patients and survivors. So even when the spirit is willing, the body is sometimes frail because of all the treatments that we have undergone. However, we have done a few things which I just want to share with you within these last 3 years. We organized to address the emotional aspect. We have organized prayers, meetings twice a month. Every month for the last 3 years, we organized statewide prayer meeting, which involves the churches in all the churches of all denominations. We were talking about the church sometimes back. And we have organized a special conference for the cancer patients. So all this serves as a platform where the patients air their problems, share our testimonies, bond us, heal us emotionally. We also visit cancer hospitals numerous times on numerous occasions, and we give gifts on special occasions like Christmas and World Cancer Day. And by the way, World Cancer Day and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, etc., etc., those days which are associated with cancer have never been observed in the state before 2011. So since 2012 we have observed it. And when we go to the hospital, we don't do anything much. We just sit with the patients, and especially when they have their first chemo. I remember the time when I had my first chemo and mine was red. I remember, and when it flows into your vein, it does not do anything then and there, but I don't know, it can be quite scary. So just being with them, holding hands and listening to their fears, I hope helped them as much as I was helped when I had my first chemo. So simple things like that. We assist patients to get financial aid from the government. There's a certain guidelines which the PPLF family has to follow. So we guide through them, and then they have to get a written recommendation from the minister. I don't know, that's the rule, the way it is now. So we again take them to the minister personally. And we are quite a familiar face in the health minister's office now. They are quite fair of us actually. So we assist them in getting financial aids that way. To spread awareness, we have also published a leaflet which is to help the newly patient to know how to go about it and where to go, how to do, what to do, where to stay, especially if they are going to take treatment outside the state, which most of us do. So, and we have published a book which is mainly the testimonies of the patient themselves and also information from the medical personnel. So things like that. We have organized talk shows and live phone-ins and radios, TV shows and written and articles. So those are the little things that we have done. And we have worked with the government also. We have met with the chief ministers, the health ministers, the parliamentary secretary in charge health, and the bureaucrats so many times. And there are several outcomes out of these meetings. And I'll just highlight, I think, maybe 3. One is that we never used to have cancer hospitals. We did not have cancer hospitals. There was an old TB empty hospital which we asked to be converted, and we now have, that has been now converted, and we now have cancer hospital with 40 beds in it since last year, but that still doesn't have indoor plumbing facilities, okay? Cancer patients, like we get weak, we get sick, so they have to go outside the hospital to get, for their, how do I put it politely, the plumbing facilities is not there. So we again have to come with the minister, and the other day we went and they asked us the foundation to build the toilet, in the inside. So we are going to do that. And the nearest blood bank from that place is about 5 to 6 kilometers away. And through the city traffic, and most of the people who comes for their treatments there are from the villages, and they don't forget about the taxi fares. Okay, they have to go by bus, and sometimes by the time they come back, it's too late, or sometimes the blood leaked. They have to put it under their arms, So we asked for blood storage facilities, which they have provided. We have asked for ambulance for the cancer patients in Mumbai hospital, and the place is that it is near enough that the taxi doesn't want to go far enough for the weaker patients. So the government again provided us Aspen and ambulance this last January, and we want to do a lot more. As I have said, we are in consultation with the director of the Cancer Institute. We have started a palliative care unit. What we want to do is that we want to undergo a master training program, and then give training to people, especially from the villages, who have to look after cancer in the late stage, and we hope to work together with the Young Mizo Association, which is the biggest NGO in the state. Our biggest project as of now is constructing a recreation and counseling center. The daycare patients as of now does not have any place to wait or relax while they are waiting for their treatment. So we want to build a house where they can have a recreation room where they can get counseling, because we all need counseling, believe me, the patients as well as the survivors, because we are in fear of recurrence all the time. So anyway, we want a place where they can get professional counseling, and also a place where they can get drugs at a cheaper rate without the profits that the pharmacy usually get. We get the permission already from the government for this, but we don't have the financial means as of now. The government allotted us a plot of land within first year of our starting the foundation, and that is just next to the hospital, right next door to the hospital. So, but we don't have the financial means right now. We've just put up some few pillars, 8 pillars to be exact. We hope somehow, somewhere, someday we will get the financial means. And we always pay our last respect to our friends by placing a bouquet and saying a few things at their funerals. Within these short years, we have already said goodbyes to our advisor, our first vice presidents, our first treasurer, 5 committee members out of the 40-odd committee members, and so many of our loving, active friends. I remember them now, They would have been so proud. Mizoram has a very high incidence rate of cancer. According to the data that I got from the principal investigator of population-based cancer registry in Mizoram, I'm just going to quote him. Mizoram has the highest incidence of cancer in 4 types of cancer: hypopharynx male, oesophageal male, tongue male, stomach in both male and female. There are 25 population-based cancer registry in India, out of which again Mizoram has a dubious distinction of topping all other states in 6 other types of cancer, all sides, male and female, lung cancer, both male and female, stomach, male and female, cervix and nasopharynx in female, and also liver cancer in male. If we look at 2 years of statistics, again which I got from the same source, 2009-2010 for 2 years, there were at least 2,483 fresh cases detected, which approximately means 3.4 persons a day are newly diagnosed. And within the same time span, 1,330 people died of the disease, rounding it up 2 persons a day. So there is still a lot of work to be done. We need to spread awareness, because approximately 40% of cancer is preventable by changing lifestyle and habits. If we have to address the tobacco usage, which is very, very prevalent in the state, we have to address excessive alcohol abuse, And then on the other end of the spectrum, seemingly simple things like eating healthy, keeping healthy body weight, seemingly simple, but they would help a lot. We have to also stress the fact that cancer is curable if treated early. For that, we have to talk about the need for regular medical checkups, the early screening program available like mammography, doing self-breast examination. I know I'm running a little bit long, but I just take some more minutes. Self-breast examination. I was sitting in my college the other day, and there were around 20 other college professors. And I asked which of them do regular self-breast examination. The answer was none. Which of them do mammography? The answer was none. So even within the most educated circle, we still need to spread awareness. Knowledge of the basic symptoms. That's the most frequent questions we get from in our Facebook page. We have to, stress the fact that completing treatment is very important, because every one of us who undergoes treatment, because of the very slight harsh effects, we always question our commitment, because the outcome sometimes is uncertain also. So we always outweighs whether it's worth the side effects. So people sometimes stop halfway. So we need, and that hinders the survival chance. So we need to address these issues also. We have to do away with the myths and the taboos still attached to the disease. Like, people are still afraid to talk of the word cancer, feeling this secret fear that talking about makes it a reality, And even though it's not communicable, people still think that associating with us somehow, some way, will also let them have it. That's the most frequent excuse for refusal I get for those who do not want to join our foundation, And one thing that I really, really want to do away with it is that people still think that cancer is a punishment from God, that it's a wrath of God for some wrongdoing things, for some of our, for the wrong things that we do. I was diagnosed in 2009, and my sister, my youngest sister, who is also single, was diagnosed again like last year, February 2013. And so people used to come and visit us, as is the custom in our society. And people who used to come in, I have heard this so many times, your parents are God-fearing. You're a lecturer, you're a teacher, so obviously you're not corrupted. Obviously, that's in the mentality. And not to self-praise, but they said, we've seen you lead a good life, but why is it that your family is being punished by God? That is still the questions I get, I personally get that also. So we have to do away with that. There's certain myths and fallacies still associated with the disease. Like, if it does not pain, it cannot be cancer. That I am too young to get cancer. That getting cancer means certain that people still think, that mastectomy means certain that, we are talking the whole of Mizoram, not all the remote villages also. So things like that, ignorance, like poor education, lack of, inadequate medical care, and lack of early screening program. I was talking about mammography. We only have one mammography in the civil hospital, and we cannot go and directly do that also. We have to get a reference from certain doctors. There is one other privately owned which is under repair. So, and it's quite costly, 3,000 per mammogram. So those are the things that we have to talk about. We have to talk about traditional treatment. When you are undergoing a treatment, so many people will come and tell you so many things. Scorpions is good, gecko is good. There are so many things that is good. And people are not in their clear state of mind when we are undergoing treatment. So, people will stop the normal chemotherapy or things that they are doing and then go for that. So, and then social and cultural barriers. People are still afraid to show their breast or to go to a doctor. I'll just give you one example. I got a call from her yesterday actually. She noticed the lump in her breast in 2003, and she did not want to go to the doctor because she felt afraid, embarrassed to show her breast. And she went when it is too late, like last year when it has metastasis to her bones and the inflammation is already felt on her breast. And then she went, and I have been counseling her for the last 1 year. And anyways, those are the things that we still have to, to address. These are the factors that hinders our mission. rehabilitation. All right, rehabilitation. I just talk about this. It's difficult to get. Breast processes impossible to get in the state. Forget about bras. Special breast. I mean, I'm talking about I'm talking about breast cancer. So all these are the things that we still need to work on. So I just winded up saying, as women, we take care of everyone else. We put things off, especially when we suspect bad news. But I just want to say that sharing stories, spread the message to those in need, and be proactive, save lives. I just hope that my journey will make a difference in the lives of people affected by cancer, directly and indirectly. Thank you all so much.
I just sing it magically. Better? Okay. We're moving into a different direction. We're going to Nagaland now. And Apo Kali was going to speak to us about, she's involved in a number of things. I'm intrigued with the combination of enterprise, youth, agriculture, culture, and there was wildlife. You have wildlife in there too. So could you talk a little bit about some of your work in Nagaland, please?
Angie, if you can. Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege and honor for me to be here today, representing the voices of women from Northeast, and I take it as a responsibility to share some of our stories with you, because sometimes we just read about places from the paper or we check on the internet and we don't really know about people's lives. And in order to really know about people, I feel it's important to see what activities they do every day so that we understand their lives. And India, being such a diverse country with different cultures, different languages, we still have a long way to go understanding each other. Different tribes, different people, different races, different, so many communities, and that's why I want to share a little bit about my experience working in the rural parts of Nagaland. At present, I work with women farmers in villages, and I also work with young people in villages as well as in towns. Nagaland is a small state, but it's supposed to be one of the world's biodiversity hotspots with be it language, be it natural resources, be it people. We have different tribes, over 16 tribes with different languages and different food habits and different costumes. So growing up in rural Nagaland, I was not brought up in Dimapur or Kohima. That's one of the more posh cities or places in Nagaland, but I grew up in a small place called Zinaboto that's in central Nagaland, and I'm so sorry with this, So, although I grew up in a small town, it was much better off than a village. We grew up with lack of accessibility to basic facilities such as electricity, water, healthcare, firewood. That is our main source of fuel for food and everything for heating as well. It's cold out there. So funds for books and shoes. And these are recent photographs of people living in villages in Nagaland. So that's a small child carrying the firewood for his family. And probably they're going to cook food with this firewood that he's carrying. And these are children, and that little girl is not wearing a shoe. And of course, these pictures are available from all over the world. It's not just Nagaland. Even in India, there are many parts of India who still face this kind of things. But I just want to show you what real life is, everyday life is in villages and in Nagaland where I work. Okay, so growing up in Nagaland, I grew up listening to stories from my grandparents, my parents, my relatives, everyone around me talking about headhunting, because we come from a very different culture altogether. I'm so sorry about this. I should stop touching this. Yeah, thank you. So, and then the different factions, the Naga underground, the armed conflicts, and the Indian Army, stories about Indian Army burning our villages. My grandfather's generation was kept in concentration camps after the British rule because we were rebelling against the Indian government. We wanted to be in a separate country because we're never a part of India, is what the argument is still going on now. And so my father also was in a concentration camp. My uncles were also in a concentration camp where they were taken, their villages were burnt, they were taken out of their villages and there was a fencing put around them and the Indian army kept them. Of course, India also had different political strategies at that time and maybe, it's so complex so it's difficult to explain, but I'm talking from my side of the story, my perspective. And so we grew up with all these stories and there was also this experience of me one time. We have always grown up with some kind of fear about the Indian army and our army here, the Naga army, different armies fighting each other. And there was one incident when early in the morning I was asleep in my room with my sister. My sister was 7 and I was 14. And the army came checking, and that was quite regular, coming and checking houses and all that. But that incident had always left an impression for me because when early in the morning I just got up and I was just walking out, half asleep, and then there was this tall man with this army suit with a gun coming into my room with a gun and talking something in Hindi, and we don't speak Hindi. I mean, we speak Naga languages and English and my own mother tongue Simi, and we were never taught Hindi, so I can't really speak Hindi even now. So he came inside and started talking something, and I didn't really think about anything. I went out and my sister was still sleeping there. She was 7, and I think the army guy, of course, I'm sure he did not mean any harm, or maybe he was just doing his job, but he took the blanket off my sister and told her to kind of get up. And my mom and dad were also there, but they were outside the house because we had all been frisked and asked about certain things. So then my sister just woke up with a start, and she was shocked, obviously a 7-year-old, somebody, standing near her bed, and then she cried and she came out. And at that point, we were so scared and shocked, but I never really thought about it at that point in time, but that had left an impression in me. I was like, what did I do wrong? Why would somebody with a gun come into my room when I've not done anything? My parents are not violent. My dad is a Christian minister, he works in the church. And there is nobody in my family who's even connected to the underground, so why would they just come and do that? And then when I went to college, it was another story. The underground, the underground factions. Late in the night in a girls' hostel, this guy comes in, walking with a gun and pointed at my head saying, what do you do? Who's your father? And my roommate is also sitting there. And I'm like, I am just trying to study, I'm in a hostel. So he asked us to take out our ID card, and it was just, so we grew up, what I'm trying to say is we grew up in this environment of fear of, something bad is going to happen, and that even kind of alienated us from, okay, maybe Indian Army is not happy with us, or maybe wants to do something bad with us. So grew up with a lot of fear and apprehensions also. And at the same time, we also grew up with lots of positive stories as well about our culture, about our very colorful past, about our stories, about our poetry, about our indigenous knowledge systems, about how our grandparents and our ancestors migrated to this land, and all the stories. So it was a mixture of many things. But one incident again in my life really inspired me is when I went to my grandfather's field, and it was down the slope, no road, no vehicular road, so you have to walk down to the slope, and then there was huge area of pumpkins growing and chilies. So what my grandmother did was she just cut the pumpkins, took the seeds and left the pumpkins like that. And the chilies, the red ones, were just left, and the green ones she took. And then we went home with one small basket. She carried the basket and went home. And I was wondering, why did you not take the pumpkins? And she's like, no, we just leave it like that because we can't carry it in our head back to the village. And whereas in the town, we have to buy one pumpkin for maybe 5 rupees or 10 rupees at that time. And so I was thinking, here people are struggling to buy pumpkin for 10 rupees. Or it's difficult to get that 10 rupees to buy a pumpkin. In the villages, people are wasting, but they can't even sell because there's no method to sell. So there is some gap, is what I always used to think, and I wanted to do something with those pumpkins and chilies. And then I went on to study in Shillong, and then I saw like one slice of pumpkin is 10 rupees, whereas in my grandparents' farm, it's just getting wasted. And then I went to Bangalore, and then wow, it is so expensive. Like you don't even get pumpkins that we get in Nagaland. So my childhood's goal was like I should do something with wasted pumpkins and chilies. But then later also I felt looking at all this, the current situation in Nagaland also, looking at all this, I felt like I should do something useful with my life. Actually, I think I can do something. Is with that hope, I wanted to do something different. And this came about because I got educated. I got the privilege, I would say, to get educated because both my parents are educated people. My dad, I would say, because again, in a patriarchal society like Nagaland, my father, okay, that's fine. Just go back to the next one. So my father he's a descendant of a king, like a chief of a village, right? And we are like hereditary kingship in my tribe, in Simi tribe. So he has access to land, he has access to resources, property and all that. Even though there were no schools at that time, when it translated to, this modern present day, he still had those access, and that's why he got the privilege to get educated. And my mother, as a woman, she has no inheritance rights. I don't have any right to land and property. I can buy with my money if I want to, but I cannot I don't have property rights. So she also but she got educated. And I just want to say that education for me has been a liberation from all this fear that I had in my childhood. And I believe it's the power to the self. And I want all women to also get this kind of power and liberation from fear, not just women, but even children and people there in Nagaland and everywhere else. If we get, education has such a big role to play in our lives, is what I believe. So I did my MBA entrepreneurship from University of Liverpool, and right after that I came back to start something called Organic Nagaland. And this is a journey that I want to transform pumpkins to golden chariots, those pumpkins that I used to think about. So that is how I work with women farmers. We want to use local resources sustainably so that we'll be self-reliant, will not be a dependent economy. And we are a dependent economy right now because everything we have is from outside. Although we have vast natural resources, even the slippers that we buy, even the dal that we eat, even onions, everything is imported from outside, and we don't have nothing producing on our own. So my first story was right after I came back from Liverpool, I tried to experiment working with local farmers. So we tried selling their oranges. Here I am trying to lift that basket, and then we did the packaging and we took it to Delhi with National Horticulture Board. And that's the director of the commissioner, secretary of National Horticulture Board Central India, and I was trying to narrate to him the challenges of how difficult it is for a farmer to sell his produce from the northeast. So so just go on, it's okay. So that's in Delhi, and then that's Delhi Hat with farmers from Nagaland. But what I realized from all this was actually it's the dream and the hope and the reality is so different because we have so many problems: lack of infrastructure, technological know-how, no storages, no cold storages, no transportation. Look at the roads there. It's all, those are the roads, and those are people trying to pull their taxi up during rainy season, so passengers have to get down and pull the taxi by rope. And this is the influx of vegetables from outside Nagaland. And so here we are with lots of riches and resources, but we don't know how to link it properly. That's also, policies also have to be reframed, have to be changed so that it will empower our local people to be more self-reliant, to be dependent on themselves. Functional illiteracy, healthcare issues, there's so many things going on. So I decided to start at zero, educating farmers and villagers in collaboration with the government in different departments. I felt that was the only way I could do something. Instead of just transporting oranges to Delhi, I have to start at the basic, talking to farmers about how to open a bank account, how should you cultivate your orange without chemicals, like our traditional methods, how our grandparents have done for thousands of years, and why should we start using chemicals now? Why should we start using something foreign now when our own seeds and our own products are much more better than most of the crops in the market? So we started with this women group. Now they have, it's been 3 years. They have their bank account now. They know how to do it. They keep records. We first started with a small patch of chili plants, and now we have a banana plantation coming up. We also have a vegetable patch. We have maize cultivation going on, and we've celebrated their success stories. We've invited government people, NGOs, and village elders to see their hard work, the success of their hard work, and to let them buy. And we've also linked them to the market. Just go on, Angie, so that they can see. So this is celebrating our small success 2012. We did a summer vegetable festival. Then husbands were helping their wives to make baskets for their vegetables. And this is during Independence Day, 15th August. The women came to exhibit. And then we're visiting different villages. And then, yes, this is last year, 2013 again. These are all organic, non-chemical-free vegetables that we're trying to do. Now women keeping records, accounting. Yes, that's another fun one. So we have small outlets. As I said, the Naga Chef Show. We are trying to promote local food and Naga cuisine to the world. So, so that's what we're doing. We're sourcing products for the show. And yeah, these are some of the things. We're trying, some challenges is that land holding is a very big challenge for women because women has no inheritance rights. And that's why it's difficult for women to get a farm and start farming. Our upcoming activities in 2014 are these, and we believe that women are the real grassroots entrepreneurs in Nagaland. Besides this, we have just 2 activities, I'll tell you. The parallel activities, we are working with the youth, also it's called YouthNet, and we work with the government of Nagaland. We have a campaign called Impact 5,000 by 18 campaign, where we want to impact 5,000 people by 2018. We've already started, we've trained 20 entrepreneurs, and we are now training, we're getting into piggery and crafts. So we've selected 15 piggery farmers, and we want local production of pork to go up, because pork is an essential item in Nagaland, that people cannot live without pork. So we want to convert it to local production, and that's what we're doing. And this is initiative that we do with young people. That's the dustbin in the middle of our town called Zunamoto, which I was telling you where I was born. So we have this group called Green Club. We contribute our own money, our own pocket money, and we clean garbage, and in place of garbage we plant flowers from our houses, and that's what we have done, and we've been doing this work. And we also talk about wildlife preservation with children in schools, because killing wild animals is a hobby in Nagaland, and birds are still getting killed. People are still stewing and roasting and eating wild animals. You've heard about the Amur falcon story. Fortunately, for many interventions, we've been able to save, and there's a movement coming up, and it's saved. So now people are not killing it much, but still, people are killing lots of wild animals in Nagaland, and so we want to educate children about that. So these are some of the things I'm doing, and I think I've taken a lot of time, but thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Now I have the honor of introducing Janavi, who comes to us from Assam, which is no longer an unknown place to me. Her background or her work involves...
Very happy for this initiative from the American Center, and I would like to mention the Ananta, Aspen and American Center, who brought people here together to listen to some voices from the Northeast. I'm humbled to have to tell you that listen to some of the good, positive stories. The Northeast is not all that unsafe, because the first thing that we hear about in all my years of travel, that is it safe to travel? We know we have problems, but there are lots of other things which are happening. So thank you, Helen, for having us here. Well, let's talk about the Brahmaputra. Everyone knows it's the only male river, the son of Brahma, that flows through Assam. And we just hold on to this. So a little something about the river. It was a strong water transportation route. It was there till independent India, but the whole shipping industry had died down. And it was considered a notoriously unnavigable river, but a company like ours, a small company from Assam, and a company from UK, we had the same dream. 11 years ago, we thought about, let's start trying to navigate this river, have passenger cruises on board. And though everyone said it wasn't possible, we proved them wrong. And in 2003, we were the first to pioneer long-distance river cruising in Brahmaputra, and the first from Indian waters. So those are the things which are happening, besides anything else. there are challenges, and it's possible. We may think, okay, we're from the Northeast, if it's not done in West of India, it can't possibly be done here, but it can be. So we must believe in ourselves, which we tell all of us. Believe in yourself. There's something unique and unusual in the Northeast. It is definitely us. And this was our story, which I'm happy to share with you. So 10 years down the line, when we put in the Brahmaputra cruises, CNN International finally noticed, and they voted the Brahmaputra as the top 10 adventure cruises in the world. Now, with our second vessel, which is the ABN Sukhafa, we came into Bengal to start the Hooghly cruises in 2007. Then we went on to the Ganga in 2010. And everywhere, the main intention was that we must show the world we didn't want any fancy timber, wooden boats. It was all bamboo. It was made in the same dimensions as the first ship. Choraido means the Ahom king's burial ground, and Sukhafa, our second ship, was the first Ahom king of Assam. So all the fabrics are woven by our Assam tribal weavers. Everything is bamboo to preserve our forest. And that was the other thing, that we were different. We not like, we don't have to be copying what is best in the world. We can set our own example. That is what our firm belief was. But we managed to launch our third one, which was ABN Rajmahal, which got launched this year. Again, we're on the Hooghly and the Ganga. And she has been built specially to sail all the way to Varanasi, because it has an extra shallow draft. This will traverse 1,200 kilometers of navigable waterway between Kolkata and Varanasi in the summer months, when the water levels are the highest and up to Patna. So talking a bit about the cruises, what did we market to the world? What is it that we had? We could feature just wildlife viewing, both by jeep and elephant back. There were visits to the tea garden, which Assam is known for. We explored towns and by rickshaws. There were barbecues on deserted river islands, visits to archaeological sites. And on Hooghly and Ganga had another different experience altogether. That was about our culture, our colonial history. Here people got to see the many little known but fascinating monuments all along the river banks, which had long dropped out of the guidebooks when the railways replaced river travel. You have your amazing terracotta temples, your Kalna, your Hazardwari in Murshidabad. Nobody knew about it because it simply wasn't promoted any longer. But besides what we marketed, we found the interesting thing was that what the guests really took back with them was about our people. So then you realize that that was such a huge resource we had. All the young men and women, the young boys and girls from our region who had no exposure to the world. But we were very sure when we were building that we will only use our own resources. Only our general manager was from North Indian, a young man there, who was absolutely terrified when he saw the bunch of raw stock we put before him. He said, no, these are the people, you have to train them. Do what you want, but get them trained. And today they are the very stock of, and the thing what people swear by, the repeat customer. Okay, they love our crew, they love the villagers, but the main thing is the people, the human warmth, the innate grace, their dignity, which so charms them. So that is a huge thing about the Northeast, very simple people. Our international border is, we share 98% of our borders with all international, and it's only 2% with India. So Assam is, and the Northeast, the best of Southeast Asia and the best of India. So that is what we say is the essence. So remember, when we think it's not, I know we have gunfire, we have problems, but there are also the good things. And so these are very important that should be told to the world, which became our mission when we started 25 years ago. That this is our abundant natural and human resources. It's all there, we should take it forward. Not only we promote, not only Assam, but all the Northeast states and the entire Eastern region. But we are very conscious of the fact that being as front runners in the tourism industry, that it has to be the high-end, low-impact tourism, which is the best for our economy. Because if we have a mass tourism, our social economic fabric is very fragile. We mustn't, that mustn't be destroyed. And the ecosystem. So we have to make sure that, like Bhutan, we have a more controlled tourism at the high end, who will be respectful of our culture, our resources, and help us to grow. And that is what we ask from the media today, that come to us for the soft development stories also. It's not just the gunfire. One bomb blast somewhere grabs the headlines, but what about good stories like this happening? We hear very little about it. Now, carrying on, I would also like to bring in another story of the Northeast, which I always say is that let's turn a disadvantage into an advantage. Sure, we are 25 years behind the country. We had the choice to remain there, or we had the choice of turning that into an advantage. Because it was behind time, what do we do about it? Now, these are some of the practical things we found. When we first started our company, it was called Jungle Travels India. It was conceived in 1989. I was a board homemaker. My daughter had just turned 2. My husband was in tea. He was in J. Thomas and Company. But we wanted to do something with ourselves. And we were sitting at a club one day, and somebody's talking about an international ticket. They said, oh, we have to go to Calcutta to do that ticket. And I was like, wait a minute, why do we have to do a ticket in Calcutta? They said, anybody issue tickets here? I said, no. So we said, what's this rocket science? Let's find out. So we started this company for Jungle Travels to bring in guests into the Northeast, and thought about the ticketing bit. We started off on 1,000 rupees, rented place, a cousin, 2 peons, and myself. And then we found that the inbound business was not seasonal at all, not sustainable. It's a 6-monthly business. The parks close every 6 months. But there was nobody issuing an international ticket. Go back. So the interesting thing was you needed somebody's hand to hold in the Northeast, I found. American Express had come in, we were very grateful to them. They chose us as their travel partner, and through them only we could penetrate that world of the IATA agent and get that accreditation. Otherwise, till 1994, there was nobody with the international ticket, you couldn't get that training. It was a very closed world, Northeast then. But that was the attitude. And so in 96, we were very proud that we became the first IATA agent. And the other thing was when we got into this, we found that the agents in Calcutta or the rest was like, oh, the Northeast people are simple, very simple people. They come to Calcutta with loads of cash, and, put the money on the table and pick up whatever they want. So simple to handle, no problem. And so the entire mass, that's 8 states, nobody can issue a ticket. So getting that IATA finally made people sit up. The industry sit up and notice that, okay, there is a world beyond Calcutta. India doesn't end at Calcutta. So that was, that was a satisfaction. That is what we felt very strongly about, and we went in for that. So we're very proud that we were awarded the National Tourism Award. This was because we pioneered the Mount Saramati in Nagaland. We are the first travel agent to have achieved the National Tourism Award. First based in the Northeast, and till today, I don't think there's been this for an award like this based in there. So it's been a proud recognition. Then the Manas National Park. This is the World Heritage Site. Out of the 5 natural heritage sites in India, 2 belong to Assam alone. One is Kaziranga, the other is Manas. But with the Manas Park, there was the Banswari Lodge. It's a 16-room accommodation, not pretty at all, but it was a huge place. But only one who ever occupied it was the CRPF. For 20 years, it was only CRPF. Then we came in, we asked the government to release it to us. And in 1994, when we started the cruising, we brought in the first guest into Manas. And today we're proud that it's led to a spurt of domestic activity. It's mid-range. A lot of people come in, even from Guwahati, the roads improve. A lot of people have opened tourism lodges. So everyone's prospering, and Manas has opened up. So tourism is the answer. This is the Manas National Park. That's the lodge you see there. Famous for its birding and the beautiful Manas River. This is on the foothills of Bhutan. Then in 2008, we took up, this was a beautiful piece of land that we had on the edge of the Kaziranga National Park, another biodiversity hotspot. In Kaziranga, and it called it the Diflu River Lodge, and we were the only certified ecotourism lodge in the state till today, in the Northeast in fact. And what we're proud about this is entirely natural. As you can see, it's all bamboo and mud and thatch with a bamboo walkway, because we wanted people to experience how the village people really live. This is the way. I mean, everyone can get into fancy 7-star, 8-star properties. I mean, the foreign tourist who's coming in, the high-end Indian countrymen like ourselves, would like to experience something closer to nature. This was the idea. And the fact is, all our naturalists are homegrown talent. They are all men and women from the villages, from the jungles there, who knew a lot, who could speak English. But slowly their confidence has improved. And we always tell them, doesn't matter, English is not your language. It's not, just be yourself, and then they learn, and now they've gotten so much more confident that today it's our #1 human resources and natural resources, which are greatest assets. So this is Kaziranga National Park, the famous one-horned rhinoceros, largest concentration in the world, the wild elephants, and we find that last year we were humbled to find that we've been rated as the second best wildlife resort in the country by Lonely Planet, And that is, and mind you, look at the positioning. The first position went to the Oberoi, Banya Vilas, 7-star property. Then was us. They flew at the third with Taj at Mohakoti. These are fantastic properties up there. We haven't seen any of these properties ourselves. But because I think we were true to ourselves and true to what Assam is, that was why they gave us this award. So now 24 years down the line, there's the Jungle Travels India and Assam Bengal Navigation, which both our companies together. We started with 2 people, and after 24 years we employ about over 150 individuals, and this is not including the indirect employment that we generate by way of people using local transportation, promotion of crafts, and carrying so many villages and so many people are dependent, and that's the only way to grow. You have to carry the people with you. Tourism can be is one of Northeast's answers, not only for Assam but for the entire Northeast state. And be true to your culture, be true to what we have. We have to work within our means. No point blaming the government for everything. You have to find your way. When we started, everyone talked about who's going to do the marketing. Nobody knows Assam. 25 years ago, we just put whatever little money we could together, started trudging to these travel fairs. We got wrongly ignored first few years. But because we kept coming, they said, okay, these guys are serious players, let's look at them. Okay, is it safe to travel? Can we come to your region? And it took years and years, but you have to go in there. No point blaming, no point waiting for anybody, just go in there and do your bit. That is why I think that, and finally, what carried us forward was the ecotourism, which is the only sustainable development model for our region. And our belief that you should carry people with you, have to be happy. And the compassion to carry people with you is what we will think is the way forward. And this is, Northeast is not all that, difficult or bad or unsafe. It's there, it's growing along with the country, 25 years behind the rest of the country. But yes, we are also in the journey to progress. Thank you.
Turn to some questions, and I'll have a few questions to start out, but I really hope this can be a very participatory part of our program. So please, if you have questions, be prepared. But I want to start with a question. Janabi just said, and I'll paraphrase, it doesn't stop at Kolkata. India doesn't stop at Kolkata. As an outsider to India, I'm fascinated by the language. I hear people when they talk about, from outside the Northeast, talk about the Northeast, and from inside the East, talk about the Northeast and the rest of India. So my question for the ladies is, could you talk a little bit about what you see and refute some of the greatest misconceptions the other India has about your India? Yes.
Well, good evening, I think it's good evening now. Thank you, Helen. When I first moved from Shillong to Delhi, the first thing that they asked me was, "Aap kahan se ho?" So they actually thought I don't know how to speak Hindi. So I said, "Main Meghalaya se hu." So I said, they asked me where I was from, so I said, "I'm from Meghalaya." And then they said, "Acha, so I was in a pair of jeans." See, women in the Northeast are very forthcoming. They're very bold. They stand up for what is right. And we will not, let anyone do wrong and just sit there and watch it being done. So, I was in a pair of jeans, and then they just told me that, आप ऐसे कपड़े पहन के मत आया कीजिए. And then I said, what's wrong with my, I'm just wearing a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. He said, यहाँ पे राजनीति में ऐसा नहीं होता, So what I did, I wear a nose ring. So I went the next day, I pierced my nose, I tied 2 chotis, and I was in a salwar suit with a bindi. I think you must have seen in my videos, I'm in a salwar suit most of the time with a bindi. I totally transformed myself. The mainland India, I'm sorry to say this, but when they tag us as Northeasterners, as Chinkies, we feel that we are being demeaned. We are a part of India, and it's high time they accept us. Cool. It's really sad when we watch the television. You have the assembly polls in 5 states in India. Nobody is projecting Mizoram. You're projecting Chhattisgarh, you're projecting Madhya Pradesh, you're projecting the other states. You're not projecting Mizoram. But when you go to see, I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little political here, but at the end of the day, when you see the Northeast is a Congress bastion. We bring in most of the Congress governments, but nobody wants to see that. Not a single channel was showing what was going on during the elections in Mizoram, but they absolutely, you have all the channels showing all the biggest states. That is how we have been in the past, and still today, we have been given stepmotherly treatment. And we refuse, and we will not stand anyone treating us like that. And it's high time that mainland India take it from us. And we will stand our ground no matter what and prove it to them that we're better than any other mainland India.
I'd love to hear what you think of as some of the misconception you'd like to refute.
I'm just going to shortly say that we girls are not easy. We have our morale and we have our standard, and the misconception that we usually get, just because we are close community and the male and the females, the girls and the boys can go together hand in hand, go for a walk hand in hand, doesn't mean that you can do a very, you just cannot take us that we are easy people. That's all.
You refuted some misconceptions, but do you have anything else you would like to add?
Well, to repeat what I had said, and which seems to be a real concern, because I talk not only for India, but for all the, the rest of the world. We try to attract into India, into Assam, that yes, we fight that misconception of the law and order situation. We may be having internal strikes, insurgency problems, that never touch the tourism industry. And our people are appreciative of the good the tourism has done for us. And we would like to say on and on, wherever we go, that they appreciate, because the industry I'm from, they appreciate the differences that we have in our society. They don't want us, we should be assimilating, but we are proud to keep our distinctive nature and our culture. And that is important that we keep it alive, because that is what we want to show the last lot of the headhunters in Nagaland, the matrilineal society of Meghalaya, what Mizoram and Manipur, the Hindu kingdom, the Manipuri dances. Those we are the custodians of our culture, and we want to show that it's possible to experience tourism in a safe way. That is the message, that Northeast is safe to travel, safe for tourism.
Well, I'm very proud to say that my great-grandparents were headhunters. No, seriously, the Aztecs and the Mayans and those wonderful civilizations that the world has witnessed had their gory stories to tell, and that made them who they are now. And my grandfather, because he was the headhunter, that makes me who I am today. So I'm very proud of my culture and my history and where I come from. And in order for me to know your culture and to respect you, I need to know who you are and where you come from and what is your identity. And that's why that's my identity, and I'm very proud. And we are the most hospitable people in the world, according to me, my tribe. Even if we had the last bowl of rice, if you're a guest from outside, we would cook it for you. We would give our bed to you, even if we have to stand in the rain. And we're very hospitable to guests. So there's nothing to be scared about Northeast, and you just have to learn a little bit, come and see what we do, and like we come out and see what, I'm interested in the dance and songs and poetry of other parts of India, and that's really fascinating. So I think if we focus on the more soulful things, on the art, on the beauty of things about human beings, about each other, I think that would connect us more than, oh, they are armed people, they are scary, they're this, they're savages from jungles or this. I mean, that's not going to get us anywhere. So just yesterday when I came up to Kolkata, the taxi driver said, "Madam, are you from Nepal or from Thailand?" I said, "I'm Hindustani." And no, that means you're Nepali. I said, no. So I didn't know how to convince him, but that's still the thing. And it's not because he wants to be bad to me, and he wants to start a conversation with me, is what I feel like. So he's just being nice to me, starting a conversation, but there's also this language barrier because I don't speak good Hindi, and probably he cannot speak good English or my language, Sunni or Nagamese. So not just with Nagas or not just with Northeasterners, I think the whole of India, we still have a lot of understanding to forge, and we still have a long way to go to do all this, and this cannot come about just by government saying everybody be nice to each other. I mean, it has to come from human beings, from citizens. So that's one thing. The other thing, second point that I want to make is, in December, I was just sharing this with Helen and the team. In December, 10,000 public were called in my town to take up arms and start a war, and I was there. And this was because one of the factional groups, one of the groups in Nagaland, some of their cadres had molested 2 women at night. And so the public got really angry. It's come to a point where the public is really angry about so many things, about law and order, about equality, but it's not against outsiders, of course, but it's also within. And so 10,000 people from different villages in cars and trucks and everything, just with their air guns also and their cartridges and everything, they came to smoke out one group of people who committed this crime against women. And it was such, very huge tension because, such large number of public, everyone with a gun. And I could not see this news anywhere in India, nothing, zero. Here, one of the politicians slipped on a banana peel and fell down. I mean, just in Delhi, and he splashed all over the news, or somebody sprained his ankle in Bollywood, and that's everywhere. Here, 10,000 people taking up arms. It's not like we're a part of India at all. We have been ignored for so long. And I'm not blaming anyone, but it's time that as citizens of India, we should raise issues about these things also, if we really want to know what is happening to the rest of India, especially issues like this. And so I want more media attention, not just those, what is that? Not just for political reasons or showbiz or, but real media coverage of what is happening. Because we are also a part of India, and our stories should also be told. And so I'm so grateful that you have called us, and I hope we'll be able to share more stories like this in this kind of platform. So that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Doing a different route, I asked the ladies this question at lunch, and I'm going to take advantage of asking it again. If you were at a time machine and could go back in time as you are today and talk to yourself at 12 years old, what would you tell yourself? Who wants to go first?
Well, first and foremost, I think that would be the best thing, to go back in time. Definitely want to get rid of all the wrinkles that I have, a thinner version of me. Going back when I would be 12 years old, I'd tell myself that I would want to take full advantage of all the education that I could. I feel no matter how much you study, it's just a journey from the cradle to the grave, so it doesn't end. So yeah, more of education. I would want to widen the horizons, bring in more opportunities, explore the unexplored, and most important, being a 12-year-old, I would definitely want to tell the other 12-year-olds that learn to respect yourself. if you don't know how to respect yourself, you will let yourself be abused. So you do not let anyone abuse you. Thank you.
Thinking about it, I gave you one answer, but no. The thing is, I am now 41, and when I look back on me as a 12-year-old, then I would have told myself that I would tell myself that, you're going to go through such a lot of things in life, some happy moments, some bad times. Some very, very bad times, but always believe in yourself, stand strong, and try to make something good out of everything. And I would have told myself that you can do it, just stand strong. And I think that's about it.
As a 12-year-old, I would have, my first hope was really to be a journalist, and I had worked towards that, and done my mass communication, because I think I needed to, tell stories and share what we have from the Northeast. I think it's very unique, very special, so many stories, so many cultures, so many histories, and still, though all these 25 years in this business of travel, I still think we have to, there's so much that it's our responsibility as ambassadors of our state and of our country, that people go back, they're understanding, appreciating what we have. So, and though we stumbled into this line of tourism after my mass communication hopes, it's still a part of the journey that I'm doing, communicating, and more people should learn about us, know about us. We keep us individuals, but individual cultures and spirit, but and that the world would be a safer and a better place with everyone in their own identities and yet appreciative of each other. So that is the dream that I have. So whatever I do, I would tell the children and for myself as a 12-year-old that do whatever you've done, do it with passion, and whatever you can do and translate to people, it should be with compassion. So that's been really my abiding words, would be passion and be compassion over the years for what I learned and for younger people throughout. That's what I would say.
To a 12-year-old me, I would like to say the power is within you. Actually, the world that you live in, the power comes from within you. There is nothing to fear if you know how much power you actually have to do good and to affect other people's life, and to not focus on bitterness, but to overcome the fear, believing in the power that you have within yourself, the person, the human that you are. And there's so many things that you can do in this short life that you have on earth is what I would want to tell myself.
Thank you. Do we have some questions from the audience? I think I see somebody in the back. Let's bring in your mic.
Talking about the interaction with the Northeast, of course there are political problems. Of course the media personnel, I hope many of them are present here, will have to take a much wider step and be sincerely reporting Northeast conditions and Northeast programs. In the meantime, could we please, as individuals, get to know each other? In this context, I would like to mention that I have a Center for Medicinal Plant Research at Bosch Institute, which I started about 5 years ago. And by now I have a lot of communication with most of the states of Northeast. We have recently completed a workshop. We give hands-on training. And this is not about hi-fi science at all. This is just to raise awareness. I was very impressed by the lecture or by what the Nagaland speaker told us. She was very much down to the ground level, very much down to what one could do with one's own resource, try to protect and know about the resource so that the resource can be utilized really usefully. These are the little steps that will bring Northeast more to the frontier. Having said that, I will just take just 1 minute more, 1 or 2 minutes. If I may mention, India government has many science programs covering Northeast India. And those are, many of them are at the ground level. So if we could enhance those programs, I am sure that will take us a long distance towards knowing each other. And it is only after we know each other at the individual level can we overcome the divide that we talk about this afternoon, that we've talked about Northeast and mainland India. I got this center in Kolkata because it is the nearest metropolis with Northeast India, and we worked very well. Only state that is missing from my interaction is Nagaland, unfortunately, and I would like to talk to you at greater level.
Sure, thank you very much. We have questions. Questions from the audience. Back here in the back.
Hi, my name is Tina, and thank you ladies for taking us through your personal and professional growths. My question is for Zarita, my friend. I'm very curious to know that the historical significance of a particular region molds the political character of that place. And the Northeast has a very distinct identity of its own. And yet, while we were in school or in college, we've not really been exposed to the socio-cultural history of this region. So, as a political leader, you are very close to the political figures of our country. So, in what ways would you like to promote this, aspect into the mainstream curricular in schools, colleges, etc.?
The moment you stood up, I knew it was coming at me. Okay. First and foremost, I'm not close to the higher ups. I'm just a part of the system. To make a change, you need to be a part of the system. And I thought it was a small beginning to begin with. Now, first and foremost, when we do not have Northeast as a part of our curriculum, because right from the beginning, we have been ignored. Right from the very beginning. And in order to make Northeast a part of mainland India, I think we need to have much more awareness. When you have excursions in schools, colleges, I think you need to send the children to different parts of Northeast to see what Northeast is all about. You need to send writers, you need to send filmmakers. Like recently we had the Panorama Film Festival, and we had loads of stars coming in, and then they said, Meghalaya is a film destination. Okay, so the thing is that until and unless you put us on the map there, we will not be seen. We need to be seen. And about our history, the history that we have is very rich. The 8 states, the 7 sisters and 1 brother that we have. Sikkim is the latest, he's the brother. We're steeped in rich history, but nobody knows about it. Talk about the headhunters, talk about the Ahom kings, talk about the Mizoram culture, the dances, Manipur, Meghalaya, the matrilineal society where women lead the families, where property is held by the women. The women are the caretakers of the property, where the children carry their mother's name. We are known by our mothers, not by our fathers. So the amount of culture that we have, India or mainland India is actually ignorant. We need to put ourselves on the map. We need to create more awareness. We need to have more papers written about us. We need more press coverage. We need more of those travel shows. I don't know how well the travel shows work, but definitely we need more travel shows showcasing the Northeast at least. And I think in another 5-10 years, we should be in the curriculum. I don't know, did I come up? Yeah.
First of all, I would like to thank all of you. And I would also want to convey that I had a lot of Manipuri and Assamese friends who made me think that people from Northeast are really wonderful, warm-hearted, they have beautiful hair, they have beautiful figures. So we from the north side always wanted to imitate you. So I hope you did know that, did you? So you are appreciated, you are admired, and you are looked up to by all of us, I think, in our area. It comes as a surprise to me that you carry this kind of feeling that other parts of India do not recognize, or, you know, I don't know, like, I think there is some sort of a gap somewhere. In university level, like, we have had a very close connection with our friends, and we still remain friends after around 20 years. Apart from that, recently I hail actually from the mountains of Uttarakhand, and over there I was trying to look at all the fruit that goes wasted. Since many years I have been watching that a lot of villagers live around and it's not possible for them to do things on their own. And this time again, when I just went for an exploratory kind of a trip as a single woman traveler, there were a lot of villagers who came to me, the women especially, who sought help because their husbands drink and it's very difficult for them to lead their lives, so they wanted help. So I was thinking of these things, and this thing has been really very inspiring for me. And my question is, I think to the Nagaland and the other lady from the travel agency, how difficult or easy was it for you to contact the government, and were they really supportive or were they really tough to deal with? I mean, in any kind of collaborations?
For me, it was, I have not taken up very huge projects, so I don't know, but for me it was quite easy. Surprisingly it was easy because I knew people. It was either my relative or my friend, somebody, and it went through personal network, and I worked with the Central Institute of Horticulture and the Atma in every district that we have, and then the Agri department. So I just went and spoke to them saying, hey, we have this, so would you like to be a part? And they were more than willing to do it for us. So for me it was, actually they're also people, they're human beings, so they were kind of, when you start talking to them,
but
it was
they
easy.
try to put it on you, like that's the only thing, like are they cooperative, or they just want that, oh, why don't you people, why do you always blame government, why do you always seek help from the government? Were their answers something like that?
No, I think the approach was a bit different. So I went with this idea saying, hey, this is our issues, why don't we do something about it? Why don't we organize this summer vegetable festival for this, because they are in your area. So I also put a responsibility to them saying they come under you and you should be doing this work, but they're not able to really highlight what they're producing and what they're growing. So why don't we do this together? And they were more than willing to do, but there was this other factor about the government thing that I was not very happy about is, whatever, let's say they give 10,000 to this women group, saying from one scheme you get this 10,000 to your SHG, your self-help group, and then you get the money, and later on they want to write a big success story about that 10,000, which is not practical. So those are the few challenges that I faced, so yeah.
Yeah, where we are concerned in the travel and tourism, what we find that the government has, they do try to help, in the best of things, but, and they've tried what they're now talking about is the PPP mode, the public-private partnership. And must comment here that the effort of Amitabh Kant, who was then, we consider really the architect of modern tourism marketing, who coined that incredible India, and also coined the phrase for the Northeast, which is paradise unexplored. And thanks to his marketing campaign all over the world, that people noticed not only India, but Northeast as well. So Amitabh Kant is, there's always a big salute to him. And the state governments in all their wisdom, I mean, they're stumbling on, but nobody gets it right because tourism in Assam has a very low priority sector. So having said that, and the best of things, they try to help us. Whenever there's a international travel show, they try to help us. And when we started at the beginning, we couldn't pay for our own stall, so we go under the government pavilion and try to sit there in one of the many tables and try to, get people and talk. And later over the years, that's 20 years now, that we now can, put up our own stall and market ourselves. But I would say that they haven't been negative, but not hugely positive. So finally, it was up to the individual. Each of us in the private sector have just gone out there and gone on with it. We asked the government. In fact, we say that the government has no business to be in business. Their business is only to give infrastructure. Give us infrastructure, give us decent roads, and we'll take care of the rest. And let us market it ourselves. So that's the way it's been.
Well, congratulations first for organizing such a beautiful interaction. It couldn't have been more diverse than this. So thank you, American Center and Helen in particular. Congratulations, ladies, for having a life. I mean, what a life, must say. But I am not very happy at one thing, and please forgive my unhappiness and with displeasure, but I have to be honest. Zarita and Mazami, especially Zarita, when you are a people's representative, how could you? I mean, how could you limit yourself when you said that I am being judged by the kind of particular attire I wear? Don't you feel it happens with all of us? Don't you know it happens with each one Indian woman everywhere in every corner of the country? Don't you know when I wear a jeans and a sleeveless t-shirt to work, I am looked at differently? You must know. When you seek empathy, you have to give it. Bottom line, don't cross it. I don't expect it from my sisters. Please don't. Mazami said, you get it, you think we're easy when wearing certain kind of dress. It's the same, it's identical with each one of us. Ask them who are foreigners to this country. It's similar with each of them, each of us. So please don't differentiate. It's with each of us. You have to have your dupatta in place if you have to have a certain kind of look. It's with each one of us. And there's no difference between Northeast or Delhi or Rajasthan. I have had the fortune or misfortune of seeing I'm in different diverse cultures. I mean, notwithstanding what you do, notwithstanding the highest of positions you hold, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. You have to challenge the social stereotypes, notwithstanding from where you come, or what language you speak, or whether you are of Mizoram or you are of New Delhi. So,
ma'am, can I just get, Helen, can I just take that? Ma'am, I thank you for your comment, but number one, I did not mention it was a sleeveless t-shirt. Number one, I'd just like to clarify. Where we come from, we are used to wearing trousers to work, we're used to wearing skirts to work, and we're not being looked upon. Number one. If you're wearing salwar kameez, okay, sorry, if I'm walking like this in Delhi or in Calcutta, can you imagine the amount of looks we all are going to get? Especially the three of us, barring Janvi, because that's similar to a sari. Can you imagine the amount of looks we're going to get? I do not wear my traditional dress otherwise unless I'm in a formal function, because people look down. And ma'am, I'm sorry to tell you this, I brought it up being a public representative or whatever. I wanted to tell you this. When you're tagged as a chinky, number one, it doesn't feel nice. Number two, ma'am, when they know you're from Northeast and the first thing they ask, "Ab chai ke liye chalenge kya? Sham ko kya kar rahe?" It doesn't sound nice, ma'am. So we've gone through it. We know how difficult it is, ma'am. We know how difficult. Even whatever clothes we wear, we know where to keep our dupatta. We know when I'm talking about myself. If I'm traveling into the interiors of Bengal, you'll see, be it Uttar Pradesh, I have my head covered. I have followed the rules of those regions. But still at the end of the day, men come up to me. You mean to say I haven't followed the dress, code of conduct for the dress? I have. But ma'am, at the end of the day,
I'm sorry, you got it wrong.
No ma'am, but at the end of the day, we are being tagged. And I want to let it out, because we are fed up of being tagged as chinkies and easy people.
I'm sorry, you got me wrong. I'm sorry, I couldn't make myself understand. It's not that I didn't touch that part. The only part of dressing up of a woman, the stereotype that expect you to dress in a certain way, it's so uniform. It hurts all of us the same way. We are all victims here.
Ma'am, but if you wear a salwar kameez and walk into a function, people do not look twice at you.
You know, we are all victims here.
I do understand that as women, all of us have problems everywhere. we will always have the MCP. I'm not going to talk it out loud. We are all going to be stereotyped sometimes. But the problem with the Northeast people is that we have that additional factor of the different looks, different cultures, different way of or expressing ourselves. So that all adds up to the factor that is already there for all the women folk. That's all. And I do understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Hello. Excuse me. I belong to Assam and I know January for years. My question is from that perspective. This is called the Northeast, Women for the Northeast. Isn't there a danger of being clubbed together at Northeast? Because Mizoram, they said, okay, when Mizo Hills was a part of Assam. When Nagaland was, actually it was not called Nagaland, Naga Hills. They said it was dominated by Assam. People said, our own identity we are missing. Not now, today, I am talking about 21st century. Is there a danger of the whole, because outside they say, oh, they belong to Northeast. Whereas there's so much of diversity. Nagaland is different from Mizoram. Manipur is different from Assam. So I wonder sometimes when we represent as Northeast, whether the diversity gets, yeah, just.
Yeah, I think it's quite true because even in Nagaland, within Nagaland itself, we have so many tribes. We speak different languages. Our food habits are different. We don't even understand each other. Although Nagaland is just 20 lakh population, out of that we have over 20 different tribes. So there's a danger in tagging this region as Northeast. And I think we thread a very dangerous line when we say Northeast, because again we fail to see the, when we say North India, then we are not really appreciating who these North Indians are. Oh, they're all like this, stereotyping. Northeast all like that. So I think there is a danger in tagging this region as Northeast, and we have to be very sensitive about it. That's all I want to say.
The young man in the back, please. And then we've got a lot of people who want to ask questions. We could be here all evening. What I propose is after he asks this question, we'll have one more, and then we'll break up for tea, and you can talk to the ladies individually. Okay?
Good evening. I have a question. Women nowadays or today are facing a crisis that they are, as Ma'am Sumi told, they are getting molested, or sorry for using the word, they are raped. So what can be your opinion about it?
I'm not quite sure what the question is. You're stating that women are being molested or raped.
Yes.
And what's the question?
And so, how can it be stopped, or?
My darling, I absolutely love that question, and I think my son is elder to you too. And I have to tell you this, men have to actually change their thought process. Unless they change their thought process, nothing is going to change. They have to stop looking at women as objects. We are not objects. So that's about it.
And I would like to add to that, there is time this country thinks about sensitizing its men. Women are fine, it's the men. And that is the responsibility of all the women, that teach your sons, teach your family. The responsibility again goes back, teach them to be sensitive and sensitize. I think we need to have this in the textbooks, in the curriculum. Like moral science, we need sensitization of the men, which we also
One thing. So the sons and men are raised by women. So we also have to understand the role of the mother. And in the society, I think everybody has this responsibility. The whole thought process has to be structured. So we also have to remember that it's the son has been raised by the mother who's raping the other women. So women, I think, have a great role to play here in raising their children, not to be biased.
Thank you. Okay. We have one last person with a microphone out there. I do know that there's other people with questions, but you will get your chance one-on-one with a cup of tea.
Good evening, my name is Svetlana. I'm a cultural anthropologist from Russia, from Moscow. And I'm studying nowadays the North Bengal, actually, as a unity. So what is your feeling about the borders reconsidered? That is quite a trend in the mainland India. So what is your feeling in all of your places? Is there any kind of trend towards the reconsidering the borders? In a sense, how we now have Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, there are so many questions about the Maharashtra and whatever. So what about the Gurkhaland movement and Bodoland movement? So how does it go involved in your situation? So how can you briefly describe your cases, the cases of your states?
That's an incredibly inflammatory question. Ladies, who would like to take that point? The politician has doubted. You silenced the politician.
You see, all of you must be aware that where we come from, Assam was once the undivided Assam. All the states were under Assam. But they all wanted their own identities and everybody's moved. That's Meghalaya, Nagaland, everyone's moved out. Bodoland. Now those are all indigenous tribes, but Assam was all full of indigenous tribes. The problem would have happened is the government policies, to my mind, with all the reservation and the OBC and the HTC and all that is the problem. And suddenly everyone's woken up to, which is what we should have sympathized the society within us, because of political compulsions that we've gone into all this. It should not have happened.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask our co-sponsor from Ananta to come up and do our vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Prepare to tea.
Thank you, Helen. That was very, very amazing. Powerful voices, inspiring stories. Pumpkins to golden chariots, ordinary to extraordinary. I think all of us enjoyed that very much. Abukali, Janavi, Mazami, Sarita, thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into the Northeast through your eyes, through your stories, and through such amazing work that you're doing. So thank you for being with us today. Helen, thank you for weaving all these stories together and moderating this evening. And to my friends in the American Center, here's to many more editions of Our Voice, Our Journey. And Aspen, India, some of you know, has evolved to Ananta Aspen Center, but our work and our focus continues to be pretty much the same, and we hope to have many more partnerships with the American Center and others, and bring more programs like this to you. Please do join us for tea and refreshments, and
the tea's over there.
yes, that's just going to be opened up, I believe, and it's hidden behind those wooden panels. And do give our young friends over here a chance to grab their tea and make a move. Thank you to the media. Thank you all of you for being here.
Sir. Thank you.